2 years into Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, one question looms large. What's the plan? By NATO's best estimates, 70,000 Russians have died. 250,000 have been injured over the course of the war, which constitutes some 90% of Russia's pre-war force. Kyiv is highly secretive about battle losses, but U.S. officials in August put their death toll around 70,000 Ukrainian troops, with well over 10,000 additional civilian deaths. So as the conflict enters its bloody third year, I ask and try to answer that basic question. What's the plan? The contours of Ukraine's strategy may have shifted with the battle lines, but the core has remained the same: survival. After fending off Russia's all-out offensive in 2022, its much-hyped summer counteroffensive last year was a bust. Ukrainian ground forces today find themselves in as perilous a position as when the war started, with the military's top commander telling a German journalist, and I quote, "The enemy is now advancing along almost the entire front line, and we have moved from offensive operations to conducting a defensive operation." General Syrskyi only recently took over Ukraine's military after President Zelensky reshuffled the country's military leadership for the first time since the war started. Syrskyi replaced the highly popular General Zaluzhny, whom Zelensky blamed for the failed counteroffensive. In the meantime, Ukrainian special forces have launched a series of audacious attacks inside Russia and in the Black Sea to try to keep Moscow on its back foot. What's Putin's plan, you ask? That one's easier. Wait out the clock. Putin is banking on war fatigue, both from the Ukrainian troops in the trenches and the country's Western backers, especially the United States, whose purse strings are tightening. And it may be a sign of Putin's growing confidence that Russian dissident Alexei Navalny died in an Arctic Circle prison earlier this month. Here in Munich, I can tell you that the European Union's ironclad support for Ukraine shows some, and I emphasize some, signs of cracking. Take the $54 billion in Ukraine funding that 27 EU nations recently agreed to. That was only after Hungarian Prime Minister and Putin's closest European friend, Viktor Orban, stood down on his veto threat. His opposition is part of an increasing nationalistic tide sweeping Europe from France to the Netherlands, which privileges isolationism and a softer Russia stance. So what's Europe's plan? Keep the money flowing to Ukraine while it can. In the United States, it may already be too late. European officials that I've been talking with here are straight up freaking out about the US Congress' inability to pass a significant funding bill. And even if, and that's a big if, sympathetic House Republicans can pull a $95 billion rabbit out of a hat, it will surely be the last US penny that Zelensky will see until after the November election. Military analysts say Ukraine will, at best, hold existing front lines with a new influx of American weaponry, and very likely fall back without it. And speaking of that November election,
they asked me that question. One of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, "Well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us?" I said, "You didn't pay? You're delinquent?" He said, "Yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay. You got to pay your bills."
Candidate Trump referring to America's NATO commitments, but this message was just as relevant to non-NATO member Ukraine. If Trump prevails in November, any hope of further Ukraine aid from the United States falls closer to zero. So what is President Biden's plan? Pray to God that suburban moms in swing states stick with him. But that's a topic for another day. Back in Ukraine, 92% of their citizens surveyed last fall said that they would accept nothing short of a total Russian withdrawal from their country. That includes from Crimea in exchange for peace. And as this conflict enters its third year, that's what the fight is about. It's about 44 million Ukrainians who overwhelmingly want to defend their territory no matter the cost. Is that enough to win? Ask me next year, or maybe the year after that.